All right, this is the end of the 2025 season. And in my last couple updates, the team had been struggling. I'd unloaded a bunch of guys on expiring contracts, but then my team turned it around in August. I fired my manager in July. And as you can see here, the surge continued and ended up winning 89 games, which I believe is just as many games as I won last year, and clinched the first wild card spot. Couldn't catch the Rays, but 5 games up in the first wild card. Going to face the Angels in the wild card play-in game, and run differential wise plus 77. Not bad, not bad at all. And so let's get into the team and what happened here and how we turned this around. Went 20-8 in August, which I mean, that's pretty much what did it for us, what got us back into the race. And then 15-10 in September really cooled down the stretch. We were hot to start September too, and hot during September at times. Got to within 4 games of the Rays at one point, but then cooled off. And runs scored ended up second in the AL. The offense was good all year. Didn't walk a lot, and strikeouts actually ended up not too high either, which is different from years past. Pretty good in strikeouts, not great in walks, is what I should say. Second in slugging, first in OPS. A really good offensive year. Earned run average ended up fifth in the AL and fifth in runs allowed, which is great because, at one point I was like 13th in the AL in runs allowed. The pitching really turned around in August and September. The starters ERA, which was running one of the worst in the AL, ended up at 10th, which isn't great, but showed a lot of improvement in the last 2 months of the season. Bullpen ERA did the same thing, climbed all the way to 5th. So really just everything turned around. The fielding, zone rating, and defensive efficiency are the ways they measured it. 10th and 7th in the AL. That's not great. I'd like to see that improve a lot. Some of that had to do with injuries and guys playing out of position. It definitely improved as the season went on, but not as good as I'd like to see it. And so just to get into the individual players, go ahead and do this by WAR first. Dylan Carlson, this combines his Cardinals and O's numbers. Of course, he was the big trade at the trade deadline. And here, so he got into 37 games, 35 starts, 163 plate appearances, and he put up 1.9 WAR. So almost 2 WAR in 163 plate appearances, a 174 runs created plus. If he were to do this over a full course of a season, which is easier said than done, he'd possibly win the MVP award. He was awesome. He was absolutely awesome for me, which is, why I got him, because he's one of the best hitters in the league in this game, and he's under contract for a while, on a reasonable contract for a player of his skill, and he lived up to the hype there. And then Gunnar Henderson, as you can see, if I do this by games played, Gunnar Henderson led my team with 133 games started. And I talked about that during my season preview, that I had a lot of depth and I was going to try to spread out the games. This ended up a little bit more spread out than I'd planned just because of injuries. Mountcastle, Rutschman, Hayes, a bunch of guys all missed time. Rosario missed a lot of time. So it was a combination of trying to use my depth to my advantage and also injuries, that 133 games was the most. So these WAR numbers are a little deflated just because guys played in 20 or 30 games fewer than they may have on another team, or if they were healthy. So Henderson ended up with a 101 runs created plus, which is just about league average, but 3.2 WAR, which is solid. So his glove got him, earned him some WAR there. So solid shortstop. But what's really weird about him is his splits. If you look at, so here's the by month. This might be hard to see on a small screen, but his OPS plus by month in March and April. March he was minus 18 in 5 games, but then April 54, then May 122, and again 100 is league average here. June 43, and then July 179, August 138, September 59. You're going to have swings, and guys are going to have hot and cold streaks during the season, of course. And then if you come out to league average and you've got a good glove, sure, I'll take that. But the swings here are crazy, just month to month, going between a guy who doesn't even belong in the major leagues with a 54 and a 43 OPS plus to 179, 138, 122, which are great to superstar level. So wild swings. He's still only 24. He's only his second year up. I still think he could become a star if he could, just take that next step. But he at least appears to be a solid major league shortstop for me in his first 2 seasons. And Jason Rosario, who was the big center field acquisition, he missed a lot of time. He missed like a month with injuries. He put up 3 WAR in 123 games, a 112 runs created plus, which He's a guy who posts more like 125 when he's on. He struggled a lot against lefties, which my team is too left-handed, but he really struggled against lefties compared to the rest of his career. But solid year from him, but not a star level year that he's capable of. Reese Albert had a great start to the year, and he lost some playing time once everybody was healthy, and once Carlson was there, he still played right field most days for me. Not most days, but he's kind of in a platoon in right field, I should say. But ended with 2.8 WAR and a 114 runs created plus in his rookie season, but really just didn't do much in the second half. Nick Matan, great bounce back season from him in 116 games. He put up 2.5 WAR and a 119 runs created plus. So looks like he can hold down that third base job next year, hopefully, although, he's had a couple years that weren't so great. Trevor Larnack, he's my DH, and he really had a nice bounce back season. He only got into 125 games. I played him more and more down the stretch, but I did not play him as much throughout the season as previous seasons, but a nice bounce back season with a 126 runs created plus after a down year. Last year, Rutschman, of course, was hurt some of the year. He really struggled against lefties. He appears to be just around a league average bat for me and above average. A really good defensive catcher is what he's been the last few years. That might become a problem as his contract gets more expensive, but for now, I'll take it. Austin Hayes missed about half the season due to injury and also being a platoon guy, but put up really his best season for him. I mean, 2.1 WAR in 88 games is pretty solid. Pretty heavily BABIP fueled. His batting average on balls in play was about, for the second year in a row, way above his league average. So maybe he's become a different kind of hitter, but we'll see. He's a good piece, but not a not a superstar for me. Ryan Mountcastle bounced back and had a great September to save his season, really. He had about a 150 runs created plus in September, one of the better hitters in the league that month. He ended up only playing 120 games because of injury. He only put up 1.4 WAR, by far his worst season for me so far, but really that bounce back in September once he was healthy was good to see because he's a middle order of the bat who I need to have be better than that. Colin Hall was an interesting case, man. He had 140 plate appearances, so not much, but he put up a 146 runs created plus range, which was second only to Dylan Carlson. He only got 32 starts. He didn't play much earlier in the year at all, and he was down in Norfolk some. But when he came up, I was really trying to find ways to get him at bats, but I have a really crowded outfield, especially for left-handed bats. But he's definitely forced his way into the picture, although he was terrible in September, slumped big time. He played in less than half the games, or fewer than half the games. Drew Bowser played in exactly half the season, 81 games, put up 1.1 WAR, so a 2.2 WAR over a full season in his rookie year. Second base job is probably his to lose coming in next year. A 95 runs created plus, solid. And then Marchand, or Marcan, maybe it is, the backup catcher. He played a bit because Rutschman was out and really was not very good. He's good defensively, though, because, a 64 runs created plus and still able to put up 0.4 WAR. All that value came from defense. And then Cal Conley, just a utility guy. Then hopping over to the pitching, let's go ahead and sort this by WAR. Mitch Keller, a lot of this WAR, the 3.1 was with the Pirates. With me, 15 starts, 1.2 WAR. ERA and FIP around 4.3. He was fine. He's a number 3 starter guy. I'll take that out of a number 3 starter. He was my number 2 starter. I just, he's probably slots in better as a 2. Asa Lacy, very up and down season for him after putting up 6.3 WAR last year, winning Rookie of the Year, winning Cy Young, getting MVP votes, put up just 2.8 WAR this year, largely fueled by walking way more guys, about 1 additional batter per 9, and giving up about twice as many homers per 9 as well. Hopefully he can have a better season next year. He was still decent, but not the ace that he was the year before. Luke Little, got him a couple years ago in exchange of minor leaguers, and he made the All-Star team in his rookie year. He put up 2.6 WAR in 93 innings, mostly out of the bullpen, 64 games, five starts. He looks like an awesome back of the bullpen arm for me. Delgado, who of course is the number 11 prospect in baseball coming into the year, looks like he could be an elite pitcher and really was up and down, but ended up putting up a 2.4 WAR in just 119 innings. FIP at 3.79. He's striking out almost 11 guys per 9 as a starter. He looks like he could, be a top of the rotation piece for me as he develops. He was great. And then moving down here, some more interesting names. DL Hall, of course, has been my number 4 or 5 starter the last couple of years, but moved him to the bullpen this year because he really struggled, and he was absolutely awesome out of the bullpen. You can see his splits here as a starter. Oops, that's the wrong. Let's go to basic pitching stats. There we go. So in as a starter this year, he in 80 innings he put up a 5.38 ERA, and then as a reliever in 32 innings he put up a 1.65 ERA. He struck out 11.8 guys per nine. He looks like I might just keep him in my bullpen, and he could be a shutdown arm there for me. So that's encouraging to see. Same thing with Brady Corrigan, who's been a top prospect for me from my 2021 draft, who just really has never put it together and never really performed up to his prospect pedigree. But he he was really good for me down the stretch. He had an ERA uh, in the low ones in August and September. And so he ended the year with a 3.05 ERA and a 4.13 FIP, struck out over 10 guys per nine in 38 innings. So again, another guy, a young arm who he might not turn into a starter for me, maybe a back end starter, but really his stuff plays up in the bullpen and could be a really valuable bullpen piece. Feltman, who was kind of my top bullpen guy the last few years, an okay season for him at 1.2 WARs. ERA was 4.26. His FIP was almost a run lower. So hopefully he'll he was good, but he wasn't the shutdown guy that he has been and can be for me. And let's go ahead and look at. I want to just show you what. So, oops, that's the wrong tab. Once Bob Guerin came in, the team went 36-20. So once I was a game below 500, brought him in, and we went 16 games over 500. And now we go into the playoffs against the Angels, who are going to be without Mike Trout. He's out with a broken hand. Here's how the playoff tree lines up. So the winner of this will play the AL East winner, the Rays. The Royals, I think it's the first time in my sim they've won more than like 65 games. They won like 87 and won the Central. The A's won the West. And then over here, the Braves are the best team in baseball. The Braves, Padres, and Dodgers, really, their run differentials were just crazy good. So they'll play the winner of the Padres Phillies. The Padres, man, they just can't catch a break with being in the division with the Dodgers. They were, one of the top teams in baseball from run differential, but uh, couldn't touch the Dodgers. And the Pirates were good this year. And one more thing to show, if I can put myself together here. So just in terms of the league leaders, batter WAR, not too surprising if this is how it turns out in real life in 2025. Vlad Guerrero, Alex Bregman, Wander Franco, the top three. And then batter WAR in the NL was Swaggerty, who's a Pirates prospect. I don't think he's up in real life, but an absurd 9.3 WAR. And then Gavin Lux and Cody Bellinger. Again, Bregman, Bellinger up there. They might not still be that good in 2025, but it's believable. And then guys like Lux, Guerrero, Franco, all top young players in the game. And then pitcher WAR, Jared Johnson, who actually he was a 14th round pick of the Braves out of high school in 2019 in real life. So I think they'd be happy if he ended up leading the NL in pitcher WAR in 2025. And then Mackenzie Gore, who's the Padres' top pitching prospect in real life, is really good. And then let's see who led the league in home runs. Oh, Joey Gallo led the AL with 45, and Bellinger led the NL with 42. Poor Juan Soto, 41 homers, who played on the Nationals with the worst pitching staff in baseball, who only won 62 games. Anyways, I could go on and nerd out on this stuff forever. The long story short is the O's are in the wild card game with 89 wins. Pretty solid season, even if it was a little below below the original expectations. Pretty good to storm back and be able to make the wild card game. And I'll my next broadcast I'll do the wild card game live of O's versus Angels. What's today? Today's in real life the 10th of October. I might go ahead and do it tonight since there's not an MLB game, but we'll see. So O's are wild card bound game. Wild card game bound. There it is. Nailed it. All right. Bye.